All right. Hey, welcome everybody to another Pathfinder Friday. It's Friday. It's 4 p.m. Pacific. Let's do some Pathfinder Friday. Today, we've got ourselves a show. We're taking a fun, whimsical tour of Magnimar, and we've got some points of interest to see. I hope you brought your cameras and your cameled water bottle backpack thing, because it's going to be a long tour. We're going to be here for probably about an hour. I'm guessing about an hour. And we're going to be seeing some really cool stuff. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's good to see everybody in the chat. First off, I want to start with something that maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. That's right, folks. I'm here to confirm. We've got James Jacobs in the house.
Hi.
Hey! They thought I was going to do the
I did too. I was picking my nose, just kind of like, he's not going to pan over to me for hours.
I was going to zag. I zigged.
Yeah.
How are you, pal?
Doing good.
Things are good?
Yep.
How is, can we talk about what you talked about before? Or is that too early? Let's just say this. James had to leave his office.
I had to leave this guy behind.
Because he was working on some stuff for second edition. And so he just kind of sat down and was like, oh, this is what I was doing some stuff.
Yep.
So it's kind of exciting. If you've not heard, we've got a second edition coming out of Pathfinder.
What? Huh. I gotta go.
We're so busy. Lots of cool stuff is coming. I cannot wait to get some of the information out that I've been working on.
Yep.
Trying
Me too.
to really. I know. People, who knew? Second edition coming. Hopefully soon. We'll see.
Yep.
I don't even know if we're ready to talk about what we think our
I get
timeline
all paranoid whenever the topic comes up, because it's like, I know what we know and I know what we said, but I don't know what we said that we don't know that we haven't said.
Right. Water Sleth. I don't think there's going to be a playtest. I don't know. Will there be a playtest? Yeah.
You got to be a time traveler to playtest it.
Dago, welcome to the chat, pal. Welcome.
Get back to work.
Get back to work. All right, let's start off this. I've got some news. First off, again, welcome. Second of all, I was going to say second of all and second off, but second of all makes more sense. So second of all, I would like to wish Ben Birch, you know him as Quiggles, Sir Quigglesworth, whatever, from that Dragon Show, Dragons and Things. I'd like to wish him a happy birthday. I'm sure that he's probably 21 now, I'm guessing. I think he just crossed that threshold, so now he can go to a bar and have an adult beverage without having to use his fake ID. So congratulations, Ben. Happy birthday, pal. Hope you have a good one. Second of all, continuing the Dragons and Things idea, you might have noticed that all through the week we've had this back and forth, with teasing some big announcement and all of that sort of thing. And we were trying to figure out, the best way to do it. First off, let's start at the beginning. If you're not familiar with Dragons and Things, you're doing yourself a disservice. Every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific on their channel, which you can find right there, they play Pathfinder. They've got a great group of folks. They've got a really good GM. A lot of the folks in the chat are fans of Dat Dragon Show. And so a lot of you already know what I'm talking about, but they're a really good group of people. They play great. They have great RP. They're a bunch of actors. So how can you go wrong? And so all week we've been kind of teasing back and forth about this big announcement and everything like that. And so we thought for some reason they'd let me do the one that's going to announce this thing. So I'm more than happy to do it. First off, every Friday, 6 p.m. I want to make sure I get that out. Now is a really good time to watch Dragons and Things if you've not done it yet, because they're just starting their second season, I believe it is. It's a good time to start watching. It's a really good time to jump in there and start watching. You're going to have a great time, I promise. On to the thing that I'm supposed to be saying. So for the longest time at Gen Con, for instance, we've been able to meet up with the Dat Dragon Show team and kind of hang out and have a good time. And as they've been growing, as we've been trying to do more and more on Twitch and all of that sort of thing, our collective plans have kind of converged. And so we kind of took a step back and we said, hey, why don't we think about what we can do in the future? And the first step to that, and I'm really excited to announce this, is that Dat Dragon Show, Dragons and Things, is officially a licensed partner of Paizo, which means we have a lot more options of what we can do with these folks now. They're a partner of ours, so we can help support them a lot more. Whenever we're at a convention together, we can do a lot more official panels and do events and things like that. It's going to be a really good thing for both of us. So congratulations to both of us, because we're super happy about this, and it's going to be a really good thing. So Dad Dragon Show, welcome to the team, welcome to the family. I'm looking forward to doing big things, and I couldn't be more happy about this. This is something that I've been hoping for a long time, and so this is, now that it's official, it's going to be a really good thing for both of us. So anyway, congratulate them tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific when you tune in, again, right there at twitch.tv/datdragonshow. Anyway, congratulations, happy birthday, Ben. That's what I wanted to say. So there you go. Yeah, it took a long time to say that, but I wanted.
You got a lot of words.
I got a lot of words. So many words. So anyway, so there's that, and yeah, so you can see. Yeah, it was a lot of folks that finally we were able to talk and get this whole thing worked out. I'm super happy about it. And then that emote that you're seeing there is Ben Birch, Quigley, with his happy face on. So yes. Anyway, adding more official folks to the team, it's nothing but good for all of us. So there you go. Yeah, James, we're going to have you a part of the team one of these days. We're going to have you officially licensed as our creative director for Pathfinder.
Neat.
Yeah, it should be good. One day I hope to be a member of the team. We'll see. Yay. Who knows? So there's that. Welcome to the family, Dad Dragon Show. Let's put that over there. Okay. And as far as I know, we'll be seeing them at PaizoCon. So come on out and high five everybody at PaizoCon. There's that.
That is there.
I think I covered everything on that. So now that I've made the announcement, we're just going to watch the numbers drop.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, that was okay, good. And then they're going to be gone. So, Magnimar. I hear that there's a mysterious city of secrets. Is that right?
Nope.
Dang it.
That's Kirmaga.
Dang it. What was it?
That's City of Strangers. City of Secret. Anyway. Magnimar is City of Monuments.
The City of Monuments. Yeah. There you go. I've got some good images.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is I want to start with, first of all, what makes Magnimar stand out? What makes it exceptional? What are some of the things that people would recognize having had Magnimar to do with?
Well, basically, one of the things when we make up a new city, one of the things that's always forefront in my mind is what's the skyline look like? What makes it look different than any other city? You see Seattle and you see the Space Needle. You see New York, you see the World Trade Center back in the day, but you can see like the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. You see, there's iconic skylines. And with Magnimar, we really wanted to get like sort of the skyline of this giant Thessalonian monument, bringing it back to like the Rune Lords of a few episodes back. And Magnimar has got this immense ancient bridge, kind of just sticking out of the side of the escarpment there, going off into the ocean and then stopping in the middle of nowhere. Back in the day, the bridge went all the way across like this landscape to reach Rune Lord Lazinus' home. But today, all that's left is this like maybe 6 or so pilings worth of bridge, and it's just sticking out in the middle of nowhere. And that really gives Magnimar a distinctive, look. You can see Magnimar and immediately recognize it for what it is.
Right. What sort of government? What sort of power? What sort of people in power or organizations in power?
It's really so. To go back actually a little bit further, Magnimar was the first really big city that we detailed much
Wait,
back
really?
in the day. Yeah, because it was in Rise of the Rune Lords. The first city, of course, we did was Sandpoint, which I talked about at length. But Sandpoint's a small town. At a certain point when you get higher level, you're going to want to like start spending your money that you got from killing monsters and taking their stuff.
Right.
And the shops in Sandpoint are just not going to cover it because they're smaller. They're quaint. Magnimar is just south of Sandpoint, about a day or two travel, and it's the big city of the region. Okay. And so in the second Rise of the Rune Lords adventure, we wanted to basically debut that. Wes Schneider and I sat down and started working on this city. Magnimar is an export from my homebrew. but I didn't really do much. It's mostly just the name was exported. It was just another city. And Wes took it and made it really something unique. He came up with the idea of this giant bridge, the Ire Span it's called, a couple of other weird monuments and things like that. He made this crazy map of the city that is pretty cool. And
do I have that?
Yeah, you should. Yeah,
this one right there.
That's the one.
It looks so good. I like that top-down, detailed.
Yeah. And then so the basic idea was that this was the big city that you go to, to shop or to like see some culture or something like that. And kind of, again, in the idea of Wes was the one that really started building it up in the first place. And in those early days, we didn't really have any proper nouns, so we were also inventing a lot of other things. The Magnimar article that he wrote for the second volume of the second of Skinsaw Murders, the second Rise of the Rune Lords adventure, was also where we introduced the concept of Imperial Lords.
Okay.
So basically the opposite to like Archdevils and Demon Lords are the good guy, the angels, the Archons, these powerful Azadas, who were good guys. And there's a lot of them involved in the history of Magnimar and all of that. And but Magnimar itself, one of the weird things about it that is kind of different than you'd maybe expect from a lot of fantasy cities is they have sort of a strange. They're basically founded by. There's another city down the coast called Corvosa, which is a lot more traditional, and a bunch of people in Corvosa got sick of it, fled west, founded Magnimar, and Magnimar is really kind of. I don't want to really say it's like a town full of hippies because there's a lot of intense people and there's a lot of diversity in Magnimar.
Right.
But one of the big things is that they don't really have this sort of idea that the nobility isn't. There's still nobles and aristocrats, but they don't really call them nobles and stuff like that. So there's not necessarily there's like a Lord Mayor who is the one that is sort of in charge of certain parts of the government, but then there's also this council of arbiters and like kind of judges and stuff like that. And and the temples all have, it's kind of like a shared sort of a control of the whole thing. And it's really kind of, the idea is that it's sort of open and just not really, it's not like a tyrannical type thing. Like over in Corvosa, you've got a king or a queen, and that's got a really centralized power structure. Magnimar is kind of like the opposite of that.
Okay.
And yeah, kind of like as we've gone forward, we didn't do much with Magnimar in Rune Lords because we wanted to go off and fight giants. But when we did the sequel to Rise of the Rune Lords, Shattered Star, one of the things I wanted to do was basically start that out in Magnimar and just look at a little bit more detail and have Magnimar play a more recurring role. And that's when we did the Magnimar book, which had that cover, the spidery cover stuff going on, which is this cool picture of like Sione fighting a bunch of these giant spiders that live inside of the Ire Span bridges. And
if you're arachnophobic, I'm sorry. I should
have
warned you first.
It's trigger warning. So we made it basically, expanded it out. I wrote a big chunk of it. Adam Daigle came in and helped with like a lot of the NPCs and monsters and stuff like that. And we basically built Magnimar up to be a fully realized city. If Sandpoint is kind of like inspired by my hometown of Point Arena, for me, the main inspiration for Magnimar would be San Francisco.
Okay.
So it's a really diverse city. It's got this iconic bridge as a landmark. It's got all sorts of art and monuments and stuff like that. And it's a big port town, It's got all sorts of there's that one like the Mauricio and Kira like sailing into the city.
Yeah, it's gorgeous
for the first time. Yeah,
the sunrise, sunset, whichever one you want to go with.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just such a good image right there, sailing in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's really kind of the genesis of Magnimar. And then we just wanted to be just kind of like the city where you go to like adventure and all that stuff. All of our cities we make are intended to be places with lots of adventure hooks, lots of history, lots of potential, monsters down in the sewers, weird cults operating in the shadows, corrupt government officials, thugs and pirates, and
so it's a melting pot of hippies, of corrupt officials, of
there's
spiders.
Hell Knights there. This is the first place we did anything with Hell Knights. Yeah, there's the Order of the Nail, and they don't really have a lot of power there, but the Hell Knights are basically a group of mercenary law keepers. They pick a set of laws and like, we're going to go enforce these laws wherever they're at. And the Hell Knights of the Nail basically come in and kind of like, we will patrol the streets of Magnimar. And people are like, All right.
All right, fair.
You're full of armor, so
But they didn't ask
you do
for it.
you.
It wasn't like something that they were hoping for. All right, well, there's that.
Yeah, and so another thing we do with when we design cities, not only is we want to give them an iconic skyline, we want to give them sort of a catchphrase. And that's like what you were saying, City of Secrets, City of Strangers, City of XYZ. Mm-hmm. With Magnimar, it's City of Monuments.
Okay.
And the deal there is that they've got this huge bridge, of course, the Irespan, which is a leftover from Thessalonian Empire and stuff like that. But there's also all of these other smaller like statues and monuments and structures and stuff spread throughout the city. And these are tied into the tradition of the Imperial Lords. In the Magnimar book and a little, to a certain extent, in the Shatterstar Adventure Path, I did some details with how these monuments are invested with power from just like the religion of the region, or just people living, like kind of sort of not just loci type thing, but just like this sense of place that they've absorbed this energy. Mm-hmm. And so you can go to these monuments, find out what they epitomize or what they symbolize and all that stuff, and like, study before them or pray before them or meditate or whatever, and get like a bonus for your character.
Okay.
Like a little bonus on attacks or saving throws or something like that.
A blessing or something.
Yeah. Kind of the idea is that I'm always looking for new ways to, reward your characters for adventuring. It's fun to find a big pile of gold coins and a magic sword in the monster's lair, but finding things like favors or deeds to castles or things like this, like these weird bonuses and boons you get for visiting places. And it's also sort of, subtly a way to like kind of bribe characters into wanting to explore the city.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So going back to this, somebody. So what is the Black Tower that is right
in the center?
Pretty much right in the middle there.
That's one of the
Dungeon
the cenotaph.
Novice is wondering that.
That's not the cenotaph. The Arvin store. So that's another thing. Is like we've got so many buildings and structures and stuff that
right.
just jumble in my head. The Arvin store. This is a big tower, like kind of in the middle of the city. The town guard has kind of taken it up as sort of their base of operations. It's also a remnant of before the city was ever civilized or founded, basically. Mm-hmm. When the first, expatriates from Korvosa came into Magnimar, they came here, and one of their members, this group of adventurers, basically, that founded it, one of them saw this vision of like these angels and celestial beings and stuff dancing up atop this like spire or this rock.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were basically a vision of these Imperial Lords that have been, on one level, they've been like protecting and guarding the Versian travelers in the region. And like, that's a good space to build. It's got a nice foundation. It's got a big bridge. It's got, angels watching over it. So, yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, nothing. Well, a lot of things. Turns out one thing that could go wrong is they've got this giant bridge. It's like, that is a huge bridge made out of stone that is so tough and magically empowered that it hasn't eroded over 10,000 years. That'd make some good stuff for like my foundation.
Yeah.
Send a bunch of people up there, start hammering it down. And at one point, they started, hammering away at the Irespan, and they knocked a hole in it and found out that a lot of it's hollow. And there's monsters inside it,
of
like
course.
Those giant spiders. So it's now illegal to, quarry stone from the Irespan because you let monsters out.
And that's how you get monsters.
That's how you get monsters.
So in the chat, Steve was saying that it's really fun to hear you talk about these different settings in different cities, because it's almost like you were there and you're just kind of recounting what your trip was like. Oh, when I was in Magnimar, this is what it was like back in the day. And so it kind of helps put you there, which kind of leads into the other part of it, which for a GM makes it so much easier. The more you know about a place, the more hooks there are that you can say, well, if we go there, we can do these things. What are some of the things that, if you have a setting in Magnimar, a homebrew, let's say, what are some of the things you're like, well, we have to go here, we have to see that?
Well, there's a few things. When I was building the Magnimar book, one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that there's, like I said, a lot of adventure hooks or a lot of like creepy NPCs. There's this guy, the Forever Man, who's sort of the Thieves Guild leader.
Okay.
But he's also like been around for a long time, like longer than a human should probably be around. And he's sort of like this mysterious like guild master of like all of the stuff going on. There's all these gangs in Magnimar, like these Versian gangs, Skarni gangs. There's like pirates and thugs and all that, and they're all kind of bickering for territory and all that. And the Forever Man is kind of above them all, and he's the one that's kind of like manipulating and everything like that. What his exact plans are, it's mysterious, you know.
Who knows?
Who knows? There's one of the things we featured in Skinsaw Murders. There's this district that is underneath the bridge called Underbridge. And so the sun doesn't shine there. It's all mossy and moist and run down. It's the slums, really. There's this huge tower, a clock tower that is this weird sort of looming figure that is haunted. People who have played through Rise of the Rune Lords know that one of the most iconic and antagonistic bad guys lives there. What else? Oh, there's this town prison that I actually quite enjoy. It's called the Hells.
The Hells.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's this multi-tier like prison, the bottom several levels of which have been basically walled off because one of the baddest criminals in town, who's sort of inspired by Hannibal Lecter to a certain extent, but worse, has basically managed to take over the entire prison from within. And he's in charge down there.
Okay. So it's kind of the inmates are running.
Yeah, the inmates are running the house, the castle. Yeah. And the government was like, oh, we don't want these guys getting out. Let's just pave over the top, basically. Yeah. And so that
solves that problem.
That's an entire dungeon you can go in. And of course, he doesn't want to cause any trouble because he's got to maintain this delicate balance of like, we're still in prison, but I run the place, but I don't want to be too much of a jerk because then people will come down and get me. And so
what's the inmate's name?
I don't want to do too many spoilers.
It's spoiler area.
It's a lot of this is in the Magnimar book.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so I'm kind of skirting this line because, again, the whole point of the Magnimar book is like you pick it up as a GM and you're like looking through it. It's like, oh, I want to do all this stuff for my homebrew. And, you know, for player characters, if they go in and find all this stuff out immediately, it's you know, it's like it can be. It's more fun to find it out as you play.
Absolutely,
really.
Absolutely.
There's also one of the things I did with Magnimar is like just coming up with like history and like rumors and scary stories, whatever. It's difficult in a fantasy city to give you things to fight.
Yeah.
A lot of urban style adventures they're like you're fighting against thieves or corrupt pirates, or all pirates are corrupt. Well, there's good pirates.
Apparently spiders.
Yeah, spiders, exactly. But it can be tricky finding monsters to, you know, weave into a city's storyline because the city is supposed to be civilized and safe. And so with Magnimar being a coastal town, it's like, well, it would make sense that they've got a tradition of like sea monsters and stuff like that. So we got this thing called the Vidrock, who is this giant two-headed sea serpent. And that piece of art, of course, is inspired by that old, I think it's Ray Bradbury's story, the Fog House, Lighthouse. I think it's a lighthouse. About a lighthouse doing its honk, and then the sea monster's like hears it and thinks it's a mating call and comes up to see the lighthouse. But so it's this giant sea monster that supposedly was killed by heroes way back when, but maybe it's still alive. And so that's one way we like bring in like weird monsters and stuff like that into the setting. Yeah. Whereas we got like this group called the Midnight Dawn, I think it was. It's like this sort of shape-changing sort of drug dealer type guys that are tied in sort of with Sandpoint's history, with threats from the Darklands as well. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's all sorts of different like layers upon layers and layers of stuff going on.
Nice. So Steve has a really good question. Steve Geddes. When it comes to the conflict between Magnimar and Korvosa, is it relatively active? Is it kind of more like a? It's not we hate them and they hate us, or is it an active feud?
Korvosa. So no, it's not a violent wartime feud, but it is definitely very much a sort of feud is a good word for it.
Okay.
And again, I mentioned Magnimar is kind of in my brain is inspired by San Francisco. Korvosa is also from my homebrew, and that city. In my head is Los Angeles.
Ah, okay.
So it's like this place, it's this sprawling place with a bunch of tradition and a bunch of pomp and circumstance and all of that. Not so much the Hollywood element, but between the two of them, it's very much, if you're from California, you know that Northern California and Southern California kind of have this sort of feud type thing going on between each other and all that. Right. So that's sort of what's in my head is inspired a lot of that back and forth going on.
Okay.
Another element though too is that Korvosa was founded by Chaliacs, who are the devil worshippers down in South, and they moved in and basically kicked out a lot of the locals, and so there's a lot of like displaced angst about people like, I used to live here, this is my ancestral grounds, and now you built a town here, and so there's a lot of that stuff going on. But then they pulled back, leaving a bunch of just Corvosans, basically, are like, well, we're natives here too now, and so it's this weird sort of layer upon layer of conflict and stuff. And a lot of people just got sick of it and took off west.
And as Lori says, you don't want to wear your Corvosa jersey at Magnimar.
No, you don't.
It would be bad.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Not good. The Radio Geek, we're actually not trying to sell you a book right now. We're actually just giving lore and history. Because we are kind of ramping up to the second edition coming out later this year. And it's in this thing where one of the things that will continue is the lore and the geography and things will build. And numbers will change and some stats might need to be different, but the towns are the towns. And so we're trying to just make sure that people are kind of up to speed with the world of Galarian.
Yeah, and really the topic of Magnimar was from the chat. From
the
viewers
chat last week.
We want to hear about Magnimar. So if you guys want us to go on about whatever,
it was
just let us know.
The snappiest snap decision.
Ever.
Somebody in the chat said, when are we going to do a Magnimar show?
Yeah.
And I think right then it was
like next week.
Next week. There you go.
We do have a book, the Magnimar book, City Monuments, that you could check out. One of the really fun things I enjoy about building cities is just the little things, just tiny little details. Like there's a gang leader in Magnimar who is this kind of bad guy, and if you go against him, he'll throw you into the tank of the swamp barracudas.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like the idea of like this mafia boss who like keeps a bunch of crocodiles in his pit or something like that.
Right.
It's like you cross this guy, you go in the tank.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like you sleep with the fishes. And
Exactly.
Sort of absolutely.
There's like
when the fishes look like that, then
exactly. That's not a swamp barracuda. That's a lot bigger than a swamp barracuda. But the idea is the same. You don't want to fall into that thing's mouth.
How big is the tower in the foreground there?
Not big enough.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. So let's see. So we're kind of coming up on the first half hour.
That was fast.
We're pretty much done. Yeah, it was fast. I took a lot of time talking.
One thing, actually, again, too, speaking of what we've done with Magnimar, that we haven't done with a lot of our stuff, is we've set a lot of the comics, the Dynamite comics, are in Magnimar. Yeah.
So that was what somebody said in the chat, was that in the comics it was called the City of Secrets, and maybe that's where I got that from. So I'm not crazy, but I'm also not always correct. So
yeah, that's true.
You never know.
We have it's hard to keep track of all this stuff.
It is.
And I think with City of Secrets, that was as much a name for the city as much as it was the plot lines going on. There certainly are a lot of secrets going on in Magnimar.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to Q&A, anything else you want to cover?
Maybe not.
We have time.
I don't know.
I think I've hit all the images.
Let me see. Any other last minute things about Magnimar that are of interest and note? Well, I mean, I can say that going for one of the things that's interesting about the transition to second edition is that while some of the rules are changing and they're handling things differently. One of the big things we wanted to do with the city, the world of Galarian, was to make that transition largely invisible to the people living in there. So in second edition, Magnimar is still going to be the same city that you're used to, but with changes, because the events of Shadowed Star have come and gone. It's been maybe just like it's been 10 years in this this timeline that we're living in and doing our thing, and about 10 whatever years have passed in Galarian. And so people that have positions of power 10 years ago when we first published Rise of the Runelords and stuff like that,
right,
they're not necessarily the people in charge in second edition. I can spoil, for example, that the previous leader was this kind of big, kind of blowhard of a guy, Haldmir Grobolus.
Of
was
course.
the lower mayor.
Of course.
He's out.
Okay.
Somebody else is in. I'm not going to spoil who it is yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we can't keep going with that.
But she's pretty cool. She's one of my favorite Magnimar characters.
Yes, that is very true. I keep stepping on my microphone wire. Hang on a second. There we go.
Don't do that.
I can't help it. It's wrapped up in my feet.
Oh.
Darn it. All right, let's do this. Let's do some Q&A.
Yes,
what
do
you
it.
think? All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked it, please hit that like button, hit the bell, subscribe to us. We would love to do that. We'd love to have you do that for us. It helps us so much on YouTube. And if you have any fun adventures that happen to you or your PCs in Magnimar, put it down in the comments. We'd love to read that. I will make sure all the fun ones go to James so he can see them. And as always, for Paizo and for James and for me, I'm your old buddy Dan. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
See ya.